Your content is boring. What should you do? So I got this question through Twitter DMs. And by the way, if you have questions, leave them in the comments or you can send me a DM on Twitter or Instagram. The question here is, my content is boring. I love your video podcast content because you speak from experience. I want to create content like this to drive leads, but my content isn't interesting because I have fewer clients/experience to talk about. I did an interview podcast with more experienced marketers before, but I found the content very dry and quit. Maybe I should just focus on getting more clients from referrals and then start to create content later when I can speak more from experience. And so you got to do what makes sense to you in terms of what you actually enjoy. And yes, if you're not collecting that much revenue right now, you should be focused on getting revenue first. So get the revenue in the door, take care of your day-to-day costs and your expenses, and then you can worry about creating content, because playing this content game is, at least it's a 3-year journey at minimum. And you are going to suck in the beginning. That is guaranteed. Really, your business takes 2 to 3 years to start to take off as well, but you just got to make up whatever primary income you had before. But if you think about it, it's not that bad. Let's say you're doing agency services, right? If you need to be making 10 grand or 20 grand a month and each client pays you 5 grand, you only need 4 clients or 2 clients, whatever it is. The easy way to acquire clients in the beginning is you offer to do free work initially, and then at the 30-day mark, you can negotiate a longer term deal. So for example, that's happening right now with these YouTube strategists that I'm working with, and they work with a handful of large accounts, but they're leading with an irresistible offer in the beginning, and then they are talking about numbers after that. And so when you run through this experiment, you do this for a couple of clients, you can actually now speak from experience. You do stuff and then you document as you're doing, and you share your key learnings, your key takeaways, you share your mistakes, and then people will follow you along the way. And then the experience becomes inevitable because wisdom that just comes from doing things. By the way, the reason why your interview show probably didn't work that well is maybe you didn't have the time to think through the right questions to ask. So if you're asking the same questions that everyone else is asking, or questions that you're not even interested in, or maybe the guest is not even that interesting to you, then you have to reevaluate why you're actually doing that content in the first place. What are you trying to achieve from it? Are you just doing it for content's sake, or you're just doing it because everyone says create content? You have to think about your objective. And so back in the day, when I started my first podcast almost 10 years ago, my objective was just to learn from top marketers and also to learn from top entrepreneurs. And I really didn't get anything for the first 2 years. The first year was only 9 downloads a day on my podcast. Second year was only 30 downloads a day. It wasn't until the third year where it really started to take off and we got 70, 80, 90,000 downloads a month. I was eventually able to parlay that into the marketing school podcast, which we're approaching 100 million downloads now. Like the question that you're asking me, you could selfishly ask these questions to people during a podcast. And then what happens is, as you gain more experience, your content cannot be boring anymore because you're going to be sharing stories. And the people that are sharing the same regurgitated stuff out there, they're not speaking from experience. They're just speaking from other videos or books or podcasts that they might have listened to. And they can't speak from real world knowledge. They can't speak from the context of having been there, done that. And you can talk about how you're failing at your content creation game in the beginning and how you got better over time and how you built your audience. You can talk about how long it takes to fail forward. I mean, I have plenty of failures. There's plenty of things that I shut down in the past. There's plenty of content things that didn't work out. I mean, let's just look at it. Senior living business. That didn't work out, but here's the experience I can share here. The senior living business was a good experience for me from a business standpoint because that taught me a couple things. I worked with 2 of my high school friends, which I still love. And I learned that you have to partner with people that have the same values that you have. And just because they don't want to work hard doesn't mean they're bad people. It means they have other priorities at the moment. And so their priorities might be their kids or their spouse or whatever. Some of their priorities might be, hey, they want to work hard, but they want to work hard on something else. And also what I learned from that experience is we were doing it just to make money. We weren't doing it just because we had passion for the senior living industry. That wasn't it. It was because the senior living industry was growing and we wanted to make money. And that wasn't a good enough why to keep us going because we're putting a lot of our own money into this stuff. I personally put in about 75, 80 grand of my own money into that before I was like, oh, I think we're sinking a lot of personal money into this. Maybe we should either raise money or shut the thing down. But when we determined that there wasn't enough passion in it, we're like, okay, well then it's time to shut it down. So that's an example of a story. Here's one final thing I'll say. If you can continue to do interesting things, you will tell interesting stories, which then automatically means that your content is not boring. That's what I've learned recently, looking at my content on the shorts, my reels, my TikToks. The ones that perform really well are where I'm just riffing off the cuff on stories that I might have heard of, that I've learned about, or my own stories. And so if you can learn about other people's stories too and learn to be a good storyteller, that's how you unboringify your content. So let me know what you think about this one. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe to this podcast. It helps us grow, and we'll see you later.